Good morning, good Friday morning, and the Friday of a long weekend. So, yay, Memorial Day weekend. We're still on duty, though, right, Kimber? We're still doing our regular Friday real estate know-how with Keller Williams Southwest. And today we have Kimbra Balachovic, who is our co host for the month of May, and she's going to introduce our guest and talk to him for a few minutes. So, Kimbra, welcome and happy Memorial Day weekend.
And same to you. Thanks for helping us get this together today. So today I have a guest is Eric Huseby of Countryside Roofing. And I have come, they've come into my real estate world of go-to people. I think now about 5 or 6 years I've been working with you guys. And they have helped me immensely with helping sellers prepare by getting advice from a roofer before we list, see if there's something that we can do to, get ahead of an inspection and make sure that everything's good up there. Helped us with roofing advice and representation when we feel like there might be a claim in the works. So, Eric, wanted you to talk to the audience about maybe, your business, the scope of your business, like where do y'all serve, and what does your team look like?
Well, most of them are more handsome than me, but we have been in business for probably 30 years, roughly. Eldon's been roofing. He started the company probably 40 years ago, but I joined him about 10 years ago. So our scope of the business is really all of Texas, but we primarily tend to work along the coastal area, Houston, surrounding areas. I handle pretty much everything up north, and Eldon and the team handle most of the Katy area in the south. So that's kind of how the team's working right now. And Eldon was real estate agent too, and we developed the company in the last decade or so to be very realtor friendly. My wife is also a real estate agent, so we deal with quite a few real estate people across the board, and we've kind of dedicated our business to be sensitive to the y'all's needs.
And that's what I appreciate the most about you guys, is understanding the time pressures and unique situations that we're faced. We're always trying to find the least expensive solution to keep a deal together.
Right.
Y'all been willing to do that.
And many times there's a time crunch involved.
Yes.
So that's one of our goals, is to always try to be real timely on response to the needs that y'all have.
Yeah, I've appreciated that. Many other times you call a regular roofer and they're just like, yeah, I'll get to it next week. I'm like, that'd be way too late. We've got 3 days to get an answer and an estimate so we can make a decision.
Right.
And y'all understand that. Tell us a little bit more about the other value propositions, why you're the better choice out of the myriad 100 so odd roofers that are available in our area.
There are 1,000 roofing companies in the area. There's no doubt. We're family owned and operated. We are a reputation company and referral. So we live and die on our reputations and our referrals. We are GAF Master Elite certified company, which is a very select few roofing companies get certified through GAF as a Master Elite contractor. We are also with the Better Business Bureau. You can look us up there, and we have an A rating there. And we quite frankly, we deliver a very high quality of work at a very reasonable price. And we don't flood the air with a bunch of salespeople. When you call us, you're going to get one of the family members, and everybody that's with us is a family member. So that is the biggest part of our business is reputation. So our certifications, we're also with RCAT, which is the Texas Roofing Contractors. We have a license through the RCAT program. The state of Texas doesn't actually offer a roofing license to anybody. So we get licensed through an independent company that license companies through Texas alone.
And there's the other thing that I remember Eldon letting me know, when y'all put a roof on, to me, it seems like the warranty you guys are offering is like far above anything I've heard anyone else offering. Can y'all talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Under the program with the GAF company, the Master Elite and Certified Contractors Program offers a 50-year warranty that is backed by GAF, the manufacturer. So the first 2 to 5 years is our company, and then after that period of time becomes backed by GAF. So a lot of companies go through roof houses, and in a couple of years they get a phone call, nobody can find them. And there's no backup for the folks that used them and paid them to do the work. So in our situation is if for some reason Eldon retired or I fell off a roof, GAF steps in, backs up all of our work. And it's a 50-year warranty on residential and 40 on multi-house units.
Which is very comforting and way above anything I've been able to offer.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
With my buyers, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that was possible.
Yep.
So let me throw a couple of questions at you. I get asked all the time.
Okay.
I sit down with sellers and I ask them, so when was the last time the roof was replaced, or what is the age of your roof? Oh, it's just fine. It's the original roof. I said, so this house was built in 2000. We're coming up on 2019. And I'm like, he goes, well, it's a 30-year roof. Can you talk to that?
Yeah. In our climate, the average lifespan on a 30-year shingle is 18 to 23 years. So and the majority of time when those shingles were put on houses built in that period of time, they're a builder grade shingle. So they weren't the best ones to start with. So their lifespan is going to fall in that 18 to 19, 20 year type range.
Wow.
30 years, it's like a lot of products. They give you this longevity, but it's not going to last anywhere near that. And our climate is extremely difficult on asphalt shingles. So, you go across a parking lot that's asphalt and you can see the damage that happens to them. Your roof is based off the same type of material. So most of the time, no one really gets on top of the roof and looks at it. When you're actually on top of it looking at, you'll see the items that the age is deteriorated and items that need attention. If the roof itself is still in reasonable condition.
So some of the things that all come up in our inspections also are pertaining to the attachments to the quote unquote roof.
Correct.
The flashings, the roof jacks, which to consumers who haven't gone through this before, it's
right.
The slip over of the pipe intrusions through the roof. And
Correct.
Those come in different. They can either be plastic or lead, or what else have you seen out there that those roof jacks are made of?
Polyurethane is the newest version. Those are your plumbing vents that come up through the roof. And normally any house will have anywhere from 4 to 10. And what happens is they get, especially on the original build, it's a plastic rubber type of a boot that goes over the top of them. They have about a 10-year lifespan, maybe 12 at the most if they were painted. And then the rubber starts to deteriorate around the pipe and they start to leak. So they'll leak around the edges of them or they'll leak right down the pipe itself. And you get a lot of that on the inspection reports.
Right. And isn't that pretty much what you usually see first in the way of a leaking roof? It tends to
Correct.
be flashings or roof jacks versus
Correct.
coming through the shingles.
Yep. Majority of the time it's going to be the flashing or the plumbing vent boots. Sometimes you'll have air vents that are up there and they'll leak too, but majority of the time you're going to run into it's going to be one of the pipe jack boot flashings or some of the other flashings on the roof.
Right. So along that line too, when I mentioned earlier, what might be a less expensive way for a seller to extend the life of that roof that should last 30 years. And we're sitting here looking at an 18-year-old roof. I've had you come out recently with several of my properties and y'all have gone through and done a workover on the aged areas. And what do you call that where the roof kind of like turns and you've got a layer of single shingles? Do y'all call that the hip?
Yeah, the hip is any of the slopes that are coming down where the two slopes meet is going to be a hip. And then at the very top where they meet is a ridge. So a lot of times what you'll find is on those ridges or on the hips, those shingles are not as good as the shingles that are on the main body of the house, and they will wear more.
The crack, and I've seen them have a lot of degranulation.
Yep,
I guess
holes in them.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see a lot of that.
So
if the shingles are actually still in good condition, a lot of times we can extend a roof life 3, 5, 6 years by getting the pipe jack boots replaced and sealed up, getting all the flashings nailed down and sealed up, and replacing any of the damaged hip or ridge shingles. And because if the shingles on the house are still good and the quality still has time remaining, then you just maintenance these other items to get the remainder of the roof life.
Exactly. And I have found that many times that turns out, I think I've seen yours come in between $950 up to about $1,600, depending on how many hips and how many ridges and things you have and roof jacks. But
and even less sometimes
is less expensive than a whole roof.
Yeah, even sometimes even less. It just depends on how much of that maintenance is needed. But normally you're going to be in the $500 to $1,500 range as long as it hasn't damaged the decking under the shingles.
Gotcha.
And then if you have to start cutting that out, it gets a little bit more expensive.
So how can a consumer that we really don't want them climbing up on the roof, that's just never a good idea. How can a consumer stand at the ground and look up and kind of say, hey, maybe I need to call Countryside to come out here and take a look at this, because there's symptoms from the ground that they can see?
Sometimes you'll be able to see something from the ground. Most of the time it's difficult unless it's a one-story house that has a pretty low slope type roof. But it's more of an age thing. If you know a lot of that stuff up there is 10 or 12, 13 years old, then you know that some of it's probably going to need attention. A lot of our inspectors use binoculars from the ground. They don't actually get up on it. You'll see in a report, it'll say, viewed by high-powered binoculars. And they'll, get a really good look at those things from the ground, and then they can determine if they're good or bad from the ground.
Right. I've often been told, we're looking for like curling shingles that you can tell they're not laid flat. That's definitely a sign there's an issue. And
yeah, I mean, if you look up there and it just doesn't look normal, there's probably some type of problem.
Right.
I mean, if you look up and you have shingles that are curled or high spots on the shingle where it's sitting up, maybe a nail's pushing it up a little bit and it's loosened up, you can tell those things real quick are just not normal.
Great.
I'm glad you explained a little bit what not normal is, because I'm like, if I looked up at a roof, I don't know if I'd know what was normal or not normal. So yeah. Thank you, Eric.
So also with recent storms or coming storms, we're just in that season. I've learned from you guys that you do not mind coming out and doing a pre-inspection before deciding to file a claim to let us know if there's a pretty good shot at it. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, what we do is if you think you have any damage, you're in an area that had high storm, some hail or high winds, we'll come out and inspect it prior to. There's no reason to call an adjuster out and go through all that if there's no damage. And if there is damage and it looks like that you in fact have a reasonable opportunity at getting a claim approved, then we'll say, hey, this has some damage and we need to have them come out and look at it. What some people don't understand is in your policy, you have a clause in there that says if you think you have any damage at all, you will contact your insurance company, let them inspect it to mitigate further damage. So a lot of times people are like, oh, it's going to hurt me if I call them. It won't. It's in your contract with them that you will give them the opportunity to see something early so it doesn't cause more damage later. So we'll be happy to come out and do a pre-inspection of the property ahead of time to see if there are items that need to be done or if there is any storm-related damage.
And do you sometimes find you're willing to come back out and meet the adjuster on the roof and have that face-to-face with the insurance adjuster? Does that help?
Always. You always want to have an advocate for yourself, because the people that are coming out are hired by the insurance company to inspect it. And not always, but a number of times, they're actually there more to protect the insurance company than they are to represent the homeowner. So you always want to have your own advocate there to meet them there and make sure that everybody's looking at everything that should be looked at.
Right. We appreciate that you are willing to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Because that does make a difference a lot, I'm sure. So
it can make a big difference.
yeah. So the other thing I'd like to point out to people that I have found, not every roofer is willing and able to do this, but Countryside has helped us many times. During a transaction, it does become apparent that the roof is a deal breaker. The buyer is not going to move forward without getting a new roof on before closing. And Countryside has been willing to work with our sellers. Once an agreement on price is arranged and all that, for even if the insurance won't cover it, many times the seller will take that financial hit, and the agents will work out an equitable situation between the two. Then we set a time frame late in the transaction that you'll come out, put the roof on, and then y'all will wait to be paid at closing.
Correct. We do have several programs, again, being that we're involved with real estate agents in the family. The roofing company was developed way before, either Eldon or my wife was a real estate agent. But a lot of times when you have a seller and you have a buyer and the roof is going to have to be done before closing, what we'll do is we'll do it a couple of weeks ahead of closing and then just get paid out of closing. That way the seller doesn't have to worry about moving money around. There's, a lot of times certain parts of that process, they're trying to get their house they're going to or whatever property, and, you just can't move a lot of money around. So normally what we do is we basically just get paid at closing. Sometimes up front, we'll take just a small commitment check and then just get the remainder of the money at closing. And if it's an insurance related item, we can do the same thing. We can collect the insurance money after the house is closed, or we can get paid at closing, and then the rest of the insurance money goes straight back to the homeowner.
That's very helpful, and we sure appreciate y'all being willing to do that.
Well, it's pretty easy to do, and it works well for all.
The other thing I love that y'all have taught me is that warranty that we were talking about earlier, which is so amazing and valuable. Y'all encourage us not to have the warranty handed to the seller, because the truth is it's better to have it made out to the buyer. Because it's only transferable once. Is that?
It's transferable one time. And so if we already know that there's a deal that's going to close and the information, we have all the buyer's information, we'll have the warranty put in the buyer's name. And that way, further down the road, that buyer can then transfer that warranty if need be too. So It just keeps the door open for, you get a lot of people that'll be there 2 or 3, 4 years, and then they're going to sell or they get transferred. And it allows them to transfer the warranty when they move too.
That has extra value as well.
And again, it's very easy to do. If you have the information and the deal's going to be done and you have that buyer's information, we just put it on the warranty and then they have it. You don't have to worry about it's never fun to transfer a warranty 2 weeks after it's been written out to the original homeowner.
Gotcha.
So we do try to move that over to the buyer as often as possible.
And then there's the little hiccup a lot of us forget about. If we're in a master planned community or some city ordinances, they require a permit be issued for a roof change, and y'all have to provide information to them. Is that how that goes?
Correct. You'll have two basic scenarios. You have a permit that you have to get from the city. If you're roofing in a particular, like say in Katy or in Houston, you have to get a permit if you're in the roofing in the property. Outskirts, sometimes you don't have to get an actual permit, but you still usually have to get some type of a permit through the HOA. So a lot of times what we'll need to do is we take a sample of the HOA and then they'll approve it, and we'll work that out for the homeowner. So there's usually a form or two that have to be filled out by the homeowner. Then we'll take all that down there and handle that so that nobody gets that nasty phone call afterwards as to why'd you put a brown roof on the house that used to have a gray when you're in trouble. So we'll handle that ahead of time. Both permits and the HOA documentation will help take care of that.
That's great. And need to plan for it for time wise. Sometimes that can hold things up.
Most HOAs are pretty quick. Permits are fairly fast. You can just run down to town and get them. HOAs can take a few days. A couple of them only meet a couple times a month. So that then usually we have to go down in person and kind of sit with them and say, we have a time crunch here. We need this approved quicker.
Right. Good. Well, I don't know if there's any questions from the audience that you'd like to direct towards Eric or
Amy. Do you see any questions? I can't get to my Facebook over here without leaving this computer. So do you see any questions from anyone. And if you're there and you have questions, please submit them now. Questions for Eric. Eric, I thought that was absolutely great information. And Kimbra, kudos to you for, finding someone like Countryside that is so real estate friendly. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, it just works when you're all part of a team, doesn't it? And I think Kimbra, it's obvious that you really get out in the trenches with your clients because you've brought, some great resources for your buyers and sellers. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I don't like problems. I like them to go away. I find people to help me do that.
I was going to say, if you can't make it go away by yourself, you do have resources to help you. I know that.
Absolutely.
Amy, any questions?
Not yet. None at the moment.
Okay, so if you have questions for Eric or Kimbra, or questions for Keller Williams in general, please leave them in the comments and I'll forward them to you, Kimbra, when I see them, and I'll check throughout the day. Thank you, Eric, for joining. This has been awesome, great information, and especially this Friday before a long weekend. But I knew Kimbra would be working today, and I knew I was working, so like, okay, we're good to go.
I knew I was working.
Okay.
Do you have a website if anybody wants to direct any?
Thank you. I was going to ask you that. Thank you.
It's www.countrysideroofingtx.com. So,
and I have to say, I did not know about the TX part, but when I did the search just for Countryside Roofing, you came up. You have a great website. Awesome. Also, you guys have a very active Facebook page. I saw that and I liked it for Keller Williams. So, I got lots of great information from there when I was working on the announcement. So
very good.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Eric, especially coming out of a busy day before a weekend. And I appreciate y'all so much.
Well, appreciate you guys.
And I know we'll be in touch. There are still roofs to sell.
All right. Y'all have a great day and have a really nice weekend.
We'll see you all next Friday, 10 o'clock. And our guest next week, Kimbra, is
Ruth Ann Medford of Child Advocates of Fort Bend.
And Child Advocates is our charity of the month. Mm-hmm. Kimbra is our champion for Child Advocates. So thank you, Kimbra. Great job all month. Eric, again. And you guys have a great weekend. So including you, Amy, if you want to take off a day. She didn't have a choice about being on this morning either, but she's always there to back me up. And I appreciate you, Amy. Love you. So have a great weekend.